Welcome back after a very long absence. A few months of looking in at home turned into, 7 or 8. But we are finally settled in a new place, and we are back to continue our story of Vampire the Masquerade New Orleans by Night. We will have a new player joining us, a good friend of ours, Jeff. He'll be here with us. We'll have him introduce himself at a suitably dramatic moment, and you'll meet his character and learn more about that. Now, I'll give you a disclaimer, a couple of disclaimers. A trigger warning, first of all. There is a there will be a scene that involves references to sexual assault. So if that is something that bothers you, we will put a timestamp in below letting you know when that comes up. The other thing is, this is going to be a little bit different of a recording. This will be an audio drama in a lot of ways. So we got this all set up last week. Everything was looking good, and all the settings were perfect. We got all the equipment out and got everything going. And my genius ass spilled, half a gallon of water right into the audio board. So it was toast. But we did record on phones, and Dee was awesome enough to write out the whole script. So rather than just say, hey, here's a synopsis of what happened, Dee actually transcribed everything, and we will be going through this. You'll have to forgive us. We're not actors, just as we're not experts.
Speak for yourself.
Just as we're not, I'm not a thespian. I don't claim to be, but we'll try to read this instead, so it's not so wooden and robotic. Like Iris enters the room and this happens. So we're going to keep it as close to the original as we can. This won't be a regular occurrence unless I continue to spill water into audio boards. So our story continues from where we left off in chapter 11, which is a couple of our coterie members freaking out about getting some flyers about patrols, and if you see something, say something, things like that. And they were freaking out quite a bit. We're not going to give a whole total thing because it's been, like I said, 8 months since we've done this. So go back and listen if you want all the details. We've slept since then. But what is important is that we rewind time just a few hours before the freak out, and we go to see what Andre was up to. Andre, find yourself returning home from the open house that Antonio Calbashari had. And when you come in, you see Sierra splayed across the couch in the living room. And she's wearing her stereotypical little black dress that she always goes out in. And she kind of smiles warmly when she sees you coming in. And this might be a little disconcerting to you because, you had that rather heated disagreement due to her, almost erratic, manic nature earlier that evening when she was like grabbing your face and staring into your eyes uncomfortably long. And she sees you come in, and she looks at you and, like I said, smiles and says, "So how was your night, my child?"
This vampire shit never gets any more normal, does it?
No, it does not. It's a different world we walk in. And it's tough to be human in our predicament.
Yeah, I have noticed. So what are you, going out on the town?
Oh, no. I've already done so. It's time to turn in. Tell me, are you upset with me?
Am I upset with you?
Mm-hmm.
I was a little uncomfortable with the way our last conversation went, but I don't know. I've got a lot of shit on my plate. I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Just disappointed?
Well, I'm not your dad, so
No. And I feel it best for you to understand the situation a little better and perhaps explain myself. I know I've kept much from you these nights.
Yeah.
I work in shadows, to be blunt. like our clan, we do to gain information about leadership in the city, to put ourselves in a beneficial situation.
Speaking about the Camarilla.
Of course. To learn who we're loyal to now. More. I had ideas, but being who we are and converting to this organization, if you will, out of necessity, we have to know our new friends and we have to keep them close. We have to keep our enemies even closer still. You understand?
Yeah. There's an old saying about that.
Right. I can't, because you're so young, I can't tell you what I'm working on. And the reason being that if someone tried to get or learn how I was getting this information and knew that you knew, it would be much easier for them to get it from you than me, whether or not you wanted to give it to them or not. You understand? The way that you can be dominated or convinced to say what must be said is much easier than it would be with me.
Because you're an older generation?
Yes. And so it's for this reason I don't tell you things, but I do want you to know this. I've heard the rumors and the talks about you being Primogen. And I've heard tell from people that I'm in contact with, and I have every belief that they're grooming you for this for two reasons. One, you're young and you can be molded. At least so they believe. And second, it's to show me that any vestige of the Sabbat will not be tolerated in this new world order that is the Camarilla rule in this city. But I want you to know this, my child. I am fine if that role is offered to you. You can take it because I know. And at this, she gestures back to the bedroom where your loyalties lie. So in the regular game, Andre rolled wits and awareness to notice that there were muffled cries coming from the back of the bedroom, and they sounded feminine. Sierra gets up and she makes her way across the to the bedroom, and she opens the door and goes inside, and she sticks her hand out of the door, from behind it, and gestures for Andre to follow. And you hear the muffled cries a lot clearer, Andre, once the door opens. And you walk in and a familiar face greets you. And what you see before you, bound and gagged on the bed, is Amber Rollins, the young lady who you had a few nights ago gone to her house and gotten blood from her, and apparently she seemed to like it. And there are tears streaming down her face. And once she sees you, there's kind of a pleading look in her eyes. And Sierra has sat right down next to Amber. And she says, "Is this one special to you?"
Andre just goes stone-faced and says, "What the fuck are you doing?"
So this one has been calling quite a lot. I don't know if you've heard the messages on our machine or not. I know it's hard to understand and they're garbled whenever we get too close. She's been asking for you quite a lot. And I don't know how, but recently she's shown up in the neighborhood looking for you. Winston noticed her. Not young love, young infatuation, I suppose. And so the question I raise to you, dear Andre, is what is to be done?
Andre just looks at Amber for a moment, and looks at Sierra and is just in total shock at these two worlds kind of colliding. And he just thinks for a second and says, I'm thinking we wipe her memory of this and of me and of all of it. Just let her live her fucking life.
true. We could do that. And that is a wonderful thought. The other thought is, and at that, she reaches from behind her and throws a newspaper at your feet. Andre, you notice the top headline is a political ad or announcement that Rollins for mayor, and it shows the picture of the Rollins family, and that includes Amber, gathered there with her mom and dad. And from the picture you see, you recognize this from that night you went to the house, and oh yeah, that is her father in this picture, and it looks like he's running for mayor of New Orleans, or has announced he will be.
With that newspaper in front of Andre, he is even more just challenged at this point with what to actually do in this situation, and he just begins to find it really hard to concentrate and says, "Sierra, can you please just make her stop?" Speaking of Amber crying, and just says, can you make her just go unconscious or something?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I can, I suppose.
As of right now, I don't need her in my ear. I don't need her watching this. I don't need her seeing this. We're going to make her forget all of this anyways.
Certainly. And she picks her up with one arm. She takes her into the bathroom, and you hear a thud and more whimpering coming from in the bathroom. And she closes the door behind her and comes back out.
So her father's the mayor.
It could be.
So what's our plan?
Again, how much does she mean to you?
If you've got some plan, she can mean as much to me as necessary. What is your plan?
And there it is. And she points at you, and she starts to get that look in her eyes again. I knew you were still there. They haven't got you. They haven't. And she stares at you again with that uncomfortably long silence, kind of lets it marinate in the air, hang for a while. And then just when you feel like, you might need to interject or say something, she starts to speak. She would make a fine asset, and I wouldn't go so far as to make her a ghoul or anything like that. She does rather enjoy the kiss, though, if that's all you've done. And from what she's told me before I put this gag on her, and she pleaded with me and told me that whatever I wanted to hear to help save her pitiful self, she did let it out that she does enjoy what you two share, and perhaps we make her a blood doll. We could ghoul her if need be. Certainly some of our ability to dominate those mortals, such as her, will come into play tonight, but she's an asset, and this is a way into mortal society to influence. Don't you think, Andre, the Primogen of Clan Lasombra was so wise to seek her out, to plant these seeds of influence for the Camarilla, and the fact that we learn maybe more than they do and have a little more control is, just a pleasant side effect.
You make a lot of very interesting points. I'm not wanting to accept this Primogen role to simply be on the losing end of this political shit and to have someone have something held over me. I'm tired of having things held over me. To be honest, at first, before you told me your plan, I was a little taken aback by what I wasn't sure where you were going with that, as he's pointing towards the bathroom. I'm tired. I'm tired of... I just want to be the one in control. I want to be the one that dangles the carrots. I want to be the one to hold the power over someone else.
And I want you to understand that I'm teaching you These are all teachable moments. You're left wondering what I know and what I don't know, right? What is my sire not telling me? And I guess now you know some reasons why I wasn't telling you at least one thing.
But you still have things you're not telling me.
Of course. And there always will be, always. Just as there are things that I'm sure you're not telling me.
Touche.
But we are the only two Lasombra left in this city, my dear Andre. Clan loyalty means more to some than others, but like it or not, we are all there in some sort of way, I guess in some regard, a sort of family. Whatever this is, if you want to call it that. So I ask again, is she useful? Does she mean something to you?
Andre pauses for a minute, just kind of chuckles to himself. I love her with all my heart.
Very well. So Sierra gets up, she goes to the bathroom, and you see her go over to Amber and removes the gag again from her mouth, and she bends over, grabs her face in her hands, and sweetly looks into her eyes, and she says, "My dear, I am so sorry. We couldn't hear the safe word with that mask on, and it's such a pity that this night of fun got out of control, don't you think?" And you notice that Amber's demeanor kind of shifts and changes as she's speaking these words to her. It looks like instead of being a scared rabbit cornered and caught, she's starting to believe that, I'm here on my own volition and I want this. And she just kind of looks confused at the same time, like there's some other thing conflicting in her mind. And she's, I don't remember. I don't know. And Sierra kind of sweetly, that sickening sweet talk that she's been doing to her. Shh. It's all right. Shall we, if you're okay with it, shall we continue? I mean, I think we should. And Andre, you feel the command. You've done this before yourself, and the word should and continue. And you see the demeanor of Amber change yet again as Sierra grabs her hand and guides her towards you. And Sierra extends her wrist to you, Amber's wrist, and says, "Drink." And at that, just to not traumatize too many other people, we'll go ahead and fade to black tastefully there. So, moving forward in time a little bit, it's next night. So this was the night before that all this had happened. I can't recall back in time. Was this where you all had that same night gone to the cabin, or was that after
This
that?
is after that.
This was the night that they went to, and the scene that just happened was the night that we went to Tony C's
Yes.
open house.
That's right.
And now it's the night that the flyers are given out and all that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you wake up. All of you at this point had made your rouse checks, and it's the next night. And then Amber has, of course, already left, and Sierra is still there. As you rouse your blood, and she's already getting dressed, and she's got her back to you as she's, putting her clothes on. And what do you do?
I'm kind of just starting to get ready for the night, and I'm having to deal with this thin blood situation, so I'm just trying to prepare myself for that, and I just kind of start walking out, start making my way out the door, not like to the door, but kind of walking past Sierra and kind of say, "So I've been tasked with clearing out the remainder of the thin bloods, the Nosferatu."
Well, that's what they're having you do for them. Well, it's certainly a noble cause. It'll certainly put you within their good graces. Clan Nosferatu is certainly one to be of use. They know things more than they should sometimes. Well, I shan't keep you then from your noble quest. I have things to do of my own, and we'll discuss it later, okay?
Okay.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
She comes over to you and she plants a big kiss on your cheek, and she finishes dressing for the evening. What are you going to do? Make your way to the Nosferatus?
Yeah, I was just gonna head to the Nosferatu.
Okay, so Winston picks you up, and you begin to drive across the bridge into the Bywater District, even further still into the outskirts of the lower Ninth Ward, and you are brought to a familiar, dilapidated home. When you arrive, you're, I guess, assuming you're not going to try to be a little inconspicuous if everything.
I think I know the Nosferatu. I've kind of been there enough now that I think Andre feels a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
Maybe naively, but
yeah. So you come up, and Elvis is there, the young Nosferatu with the pompadour, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they're expecting you." Like they knew they were coming.
Oh, when I get to the house, I'm gonna go in through the shadows.
Okay, so you do, and no, it doesn't appear that anybody's looking your way or noticing you, and you see Elvis in the room when you come in, and you reveal yourself, and he kind of with a start, and he's like, "Oh, hey man, yeah, they're expecting you. Yeah, come on in," and so he bangs twice on the hatch and opens it up, and you descend into the sewers. You make your way, as you know, to go to Roger and Avery's spot, and they're there. And in front of them is a large, giant, ever-growing pile of rats. You notice as you come in that they're not even feeding for most of them. They're just biting them and killing them. And you're kind of taking this scene in, and it's at that point you notice that there is a third Nosferatu in the room. And it's one that you've never seen. This one is less bat-like than Roger Avery, but still has that gray pallor to his skin. On the right side of his face, there's a pretty hideous scar, and he's got a half-torn ear. His intact ear produces almost like an elven point, like you have seen in stereotypical Nosferatu pictures. He does have hair, though. He looks kind of grizzled, like he's seen some shit, and he's wearing a trench coat. It looks like he basically doesn't have any fucks left to give, like that 2 weeks from retirement, I don't care kind of look. And Avery sees you and says, "Hi, Andre. Let me introduce you. This is our associate, Bob."
I'm sorry, Bob?
My friends call me Bob. You can call me Robert or Mr. Stokely.
And this is our new player, Jeff, who will be playing the Nosferatu, Bob.
Hello.
Well, fair enough, Robert. So, is our friend here going to be helping us with a little situation?
Perhaps. We've been discussing a few things. Rather interesting circumstances arisen that we need to discuss. Bob, if you please.
Your friends are interesting.
And at that, he pushes a button on a tape player.
Yeah, I got him. I would be delighted to perform my services for you all, but Mr. Giovanni here tells me that the greater issue is who you're trying to keep out. You say you have a suspicion that the Second Inquisition were here this night.
Well, considering it was the police chief and the brochures. Did you get a brochure today?
I think the entire complex did. It's disturbing.
That is an understatement, Mr. Kalbashari, yes.
Definitely not what was anticipated with our changes here, suppose, huh?
You think someone tipped him off?
No, I think it's unintended consequences of making an area better.
Oh, the cops get more interested?
Yes. There's a vested interest on the mortal side as well to see the fruits of the labor.
It's those damn tourists and their damn money.
Unfortunate. I would be happy to do your wards. I will do them tomorrow night. I also can offer you a place to stay here should you need it.
Mr. Kalbashari, we may be taking you up on that offer.
That is, you are welcome to it.
So if you don't mind, we will have a discussion amongst ourselves and return your phone call. Or we will call you again, I should say.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay. So
The issue is not so much at hand that the New Orleans Special Task Force is looking into them. What I wanted to play this for you is that it's to show they are working with Mr. Kalbashari. This is very fortunate for you all. We had our suspicions, Bob especially, that your Hekata coterie mate was still tied to the Sabbat, especially in light of what happened with Roger. It seems that's not the case with what we heard and with our conversations there with Mr. Kalbashari.
yeah, isn't that a relief?
It seems that you all can be trusted to a greater or lesser degree.
Going to a member of the Camarillo was a good decision on her part.
Well, I'm glad they can make some good decisions.
As are we.
Yes.
And at this point, Elvis pops his head down through the hatch and looks at Avery and says, hey, boss, we got, I guess, some unexpected company. No. They're not unexpected, Elvis. Send them down. And you hear somebody descending from the ladder and splashing through the water. And soon enough, coming around the corner are 3 uniformed police officers. One in particular you have seen before. You have seen him on the news the night that there was the fire at the Zamiche residence. It is Police Chief Robert Carter. And Avery looks at him and says, Mr. Carter, so good of you to join us. And Carter looks around and kind of glances at the pile of rats and everything. And then he says, hey, Bob, how are you?
Good. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. And then turning to Andre, Avery says, surely, Andre, you had to know, surely. The New Orleans Special Task Force Emergency Rescue and Tactical Unit. Take the first letters of each of those words.
You're going to have to forgive me for being a little new to this. And don't call me Shirley. So if I've got this correctly, Mr. Carter here is working for you?
Yes. Mr. Carter, what was the incident that occurred earlier tonight at the funeral home that we heard a little about? Carter kind of shifts a little nervously and maybe looks a little more nervous than he should. And he says, it was a lot of racket. We called it in when we heard where it was happening, so we headed it up instead. We took it over. Everything seemed okay on the premises. They were talking that there was a robbery. Probably not, though. With your kind, it was probably they had a victim trying to get away from them or something, for all we know. But no signs of anything, a foul play. The place was wrecked, but that's about it. Everything seemed to be okay. We got it under control.
Yeah. Andre's slightly annoyed hearing this. Good to know.
Well, yes. Avery stands up and he reaches in his pocket and he hands Robert, Mr. Carter, a very large stack of $100 bills, and looks at him and says, "For your troubles." I appreciate it. The matter of Avery. Yes, Robert, of course. Your daughter will be taken care of. Of course. It's fine. It's fine. We have it under control. Hey, thank you. He appears like he's about to say something, but he kind of stops and, waits a minute.
Andre walks up to Carter in a way to kind of make his presence known, and it's kind of like an odd, weird, like an introduction so that he can remember him.
Gotcha.
Too,
okay.
and says, "I want to appreciate you for what you've done to help with that."
Well, don't thank me yet. There's a bit of a problem.
There always is.
Yeah, so that's also what I want to talk to you about. So the SI people keep talking about everything that happened in town and everything we've done. Did a pretty good job with all that, drumming up fear like we talked about and keeping certain people out of where we want them. But we've got a problem. There's an alderman that they had a special election for a few months ago, Catherine Morell. I think she's compromised. The camera situation that got voted on. We tried to get them out of here, but they're not letting that happen. And he looks at Bob while he starts to say this next part. And the more I'm digging into her, the more that I'm finding out that she's come out of Las Vegas, and I don't know what her background is or what, but she's not doing what we would like her to. And she pushes back, and the council listens to her.
What district did she win?
She's in the French Quarter, so higher, more wealthier, more influential group. So, how that goes. She tends to have more pull.
Why does she care what happens in Bywater or the lower Ninth Ward?
Well, it's a city council. The alderman from this area proposed that the cameras go up and everything, the street lights, more of them and all that. And I think we're pretty sure it was her that put this idea in his head. Would you please let us know if you have any additional information? And that was Avery. And then Carter says, yeah, absolutely. And Avery turns back and says, well, I'll visit your daughter in a few days' time. Will that suffice? Yeah. Well, Mr. Carter, I don't think you should be caught walking around in the sewers too long. If you'll follow that path there, Roger will escort you and see that you are not noticed until you need to be once you leave. Gentlemen, thank you all as well. And the other two cops that are with him, Avery produces some large filled envelopes and gives it to the other officers present. And they start to kind of hurry when they leave. And once they're gone, Avery and Roger both kind of start to move the rat, or sorry, just Avery, because Roger's already left, starts to move the rat pile. And Avery's kind of gives out and just, they always think we're going to feed on them. And this just shows them that we're not hungry. And it's foolish and it's a waste of time, but it is what it is.
It's also a bit of theatrics, man. They secretly dig it.
I'm sure you're right. Well, we have business to speak of now that we know that we can trust your coterie. There's the matter of the Thin Bloods.
Yeah, let's discuss.
I'd rather not just your coterie handle this. I would much prefer you to have assistance in some manner, someone with experience handling the Sabbat. And that's why our dear associate, Mr. Stokely, is here.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, Mr. Stokely has been keeping tabs on us this whole time.
No, well, Mr. Stokely, he's aware of certain elements, but he has a very, shall we say, as that movie says, a very special set of skills that he brings with him to the situation. He has experience with the Sabbat. He even experienced with, he turns to Bob and he says, I believe you at least had a run-in with his sire at one point, a minor, I think, right?
Which one?
Sierra?
Yeah, just an encounter.
And Avery turns back to you and just says, old days. water under the bridge, Andre. You understand.
Well, I'm sure that must have been a very lovely encounter.
No.
She may or may not feel that way. I don't really remember the exact details.
It's so hard when you're pointing the weapon that can walk in the daylight to light things on fire. It's hard to remember who you do that to, I suppose. At this point, Andre, I had Adam roll. He used wits and knowledge of politics to kind of glean what Avery meant from that little cryptic message.
Because I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about.
So just from, he'd rolled well enough to know that knowing how Sierra speaks and the stories that he had heard from her and Erasmus, that he gathered that Avery and the Nosferatu have been using these hunters, now known as SI, so they're calling themselves in the city, as a weapon to point at other kindred, mainly Sabbat. And when he puts this information together with stories he's heard from Erasmus, you realize is that these Nosferatu were probably who Erasmus was actually he actually tipped off. And that maybe even if you go back further, that they may have even sent these hunters after Ella Messina.
Okay. SI shows up after Casey blows up the building in the 9th Ward. And they showed up because you were worried that we may be compromised by Sabbat?
No. Well, a little. More so your coterie mate, Persephone. And Avery does some air quotes at that name, Persephone.
According to Roger, she said some pretty wild shit in there.
She always says pretty wild shit. I'd be more surprised if she didn't say some crazy shit.
Erasmus was a known item. We could and thoroughly expect him to do something we did not want him to and mess things up. But we could count on that. And honestly, I probably in all likelihood owe my Roger's life to that man, which is what no longer in the city for that reason. You understand? Right. But we have this issue now that we know that for the most part we trust them. You have much to prove to the Camarilla to gain your position. I believe Bob just likes to do what he does.
I do.
All in a day's work, right?
Andre looked at Bob. So you've been around for a minute, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
He's someone I trust, and that goes a long way in our kind. I have information on the likely location of these thin bloods. It looks like Lapis made a brief call to someone, the Zamiche that was left that we couldn't find after the incident at the apartment building. There are some ghouls in the area that gave us this intel. There were some servants, Bob's especially, that did a very excellent job on finding the final location of where we suspect they are. It's in the middle of nowhere, very easy to hide. It's in an outbuilding at a power station in the Venetian Isles district. Not a very nice location, very rural though, for still being considered part of the city. A little strange, but it's where a lot of utilities are placed, keeping them out of sight, out of mind. And this is where we believe they are. We have strong evidence to that case.
Do we know if Pisha is there? She was running the methadone clinic that from the original Thin Blood I was supposed to extinguish.
Maybe I would imagine so. It seems there was more than one individual seen going in and out of this building in the daylight. Covered up, but in the daylight. This is a problem because they can do that and we cannot.
What are you thinking, Avery?
I think I've put the pieces in place, and I think that you should finish your job, Andre. Clan Nosferatu would have to sing your praises, would we not, should you accomplish your mission? And put in any words, should your coterie mates help, of course, that they are on the up and up. But these things are not free, mind you.
Oh, of course.
There will come a time, if you are given a position on the council, and we shall call for a vote in our favor. I would hope as friends, and he kind of gives you a big toothy grin when he says that you would abide such a boon being owed.
Provided that I get such a position.
Well, I feel if you do well here, it's all but certain, Mr. Ducard. As Primogen of the Nosferatu, I'll have a deciding vote on that as well.
Seems like a decent situation for you, Mr. Ducard.
Oh, everything seems like a decent situation.
The world is your oyster, so I say fuck it and shuck it.
Eloquently put.
Andre ponders for a moment, especially after the conversation he had with Sierra about being used. And he knows that now is one of those situations that he was first complaining about.
Mm-hmm.
But he thinks about it and knows that this is probably something he needs to do and just fuck it.
So we have a deal then. And he sticks his hand out to offer you to shake it.
Andre slowly puts his hand out and accepts and shakes on the deal.
And he shakes it briskly, but not very long. And he says, Mr. Stokely, you are owed a minor boon as per our agreement.
Okay, so we know where they hide. We go in there while they're doing whatever the fuck they're doing in there, and we murder them all.
We certainly don't want them to do it to us in the daytime.
Well, then we better get cracking.
I don't know if you want to or not, but I would suggest having people in the way if things should go south. But having your coterie mates there might be beneficial. And as he's saying this, he's recording. You notice he's gone and gotten a book, and he's recording your agreement in the book as he's talking to you.
Yes, I better go check on them.
Oh, they'll certainly need it. They're rather distraught.
Yeah, after that, I'd imagine so.
And if you want some extra fun, I wouldn't mention that you had this conversation with Mr. Carter.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Excellent. It's fun to watch them squirm.
They are a squirmy bunch.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Ducard, I think it's to your benefit for your coterie mates to be part of the Camarilla, if at all possible. It certainly helps your case for Primogen, you bringing these wayward souls into the fold and all.
I may have another hand to help us as well. I have an associate that is quite handy.
And has he been around a while, too?
She has been around a little bit.
Am I ever going to meet this she?
Probably at some point.
She's been assisting him in gathering this information that we have to begin with, Andre.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for the information, Avery. Thank you for the associate to help me. Thank you, Robert. I'll grab my coterie and fix this thin blood situation.
I have all the faith in you, and I certainly hope that you do. Come out victorious, Mr. Ducard. Drive them from the city. Drive them into the sun. Kill them. Kill them all. I don't care, as long as they're gone.
Well, I tried to drive them from the city once before. Now I'm going to drive them into the ground.
Yes, and they are vermin, much like these rats. Do what you will. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Would you like me to come with you so I can meet your coterie?
Yes. We need a game plan. So far, for the extra help, and that's as far as it goes.
Depends.
Depends on how much information we plan on spilling. My car's outside. Are you going to ride with me, or do you have your own transportation? I assume you already know where we live.
I know where they're at. I'll ride with you. They're still at the funeral home. Avery, give Roger my best.
Thank you, I shall. So, we go out of the sewers and into another location, a very familiar spot, the residence of Vicenta and Iris. And Ig, you all are barricaded in the apartment above the funeral home after the visit from the police chief. The downstairs, particularly in the back mortuary portion of the building, remains a ruined mess from the attack earlier and the police investigation looking through things. You kind of realize that there's no way for you to repair the mortuary and secure it for the evening. And you're, I'm sure, worried, thinking that the Camarilla has done something, tipped him off to the SI or something like that. What are you doing?
Vicenta picks up the apartment landline and makes a phone call to her brother.
Okay.
So when he answers, she goes, Quentin, there's been a break-in. The back is a mess. I'll need you to call the entire morning crew, all the family. Any that have even volunteered, I need you to call them in to help get it cleaned up. You come speak to me immediately when you arrive.
Now?
Yes, now.
I mean, it'll be some time, but
No, Quentin. They know.
Who? What? No, what?
They know.
Oh, can you tell me later, okay?
Please get here.
Okay. Iris, what are you doing?
Freaking out. I'm pacing back and forth, probably bothering Ig. I'm just losing my shit.
Well, meanwhile, Andre and Bob arrive at the front of the Legacy Funeral Directors, and the building has the lights out. You guys notice this, and no signs of movement inside. Iris's shop, as you came around the front, it also looked like it was closed up. No signs of movement in there either.
Okay, let me go in first and I'll talk to them. I want to know what they're going to say about this event that just happened. And I fear that if you walk in alongside me that, they're not going to be all honest.
I can be unseen.
Okay, just do it however you need to do it.
Just hold the door open a bit longer than you normally would.
So you try the door, and it is locked.
I've got a key.
Well, good for you, being the landlord, doing unethical things.
Yep.
So you use
It's not the only unethical thing I've done in this.
Add to the list. So you use your master copy of the key, and you enter the building. You leave the door open, just like Bob asked, long enough for him to kind of come in behind you. You look around, and you see the signs of what the police chief, Robert Carter, described earlier, signs of something happening in here, that there's stuff overturned, but you don't see your coterie mates anywhere. You all, however, hear the sound of the door opening up downstairs.
Oh my god, they're fucking back. Oh my god.
It's Quentin. It's probably Quentin. Quentin would just let himself in.
How'd he get here so fast?
I told him to hurry up.
Okay. What time is it?
I don't know. What time is it?
This is Ig kind of looking around. It's 2 a.m. That's probably why he was so tired on the phone, you know.
I don't care. It's time to fall back on old tricks, Quentin.
The apartment, it's got increased soundproofing, as we've talked about earlier, so it's not so easy to hear. However, you can off in the distance hear a somewhat familiar voice faintly calling you.
Persephone, are you there? Have you seen Iris?
Oh shit, it's what's Andre? What the fuck's he doing here?
Yeah, it's Andre. Landlord's not supposed to, whatever. It's fine.
No, the landlord is not.
Not supposed to just let himself in?
No.
He does that all the time at my place.
Oh, well.
Something must be wrong then. Is Andre SI?
Go see what he needs.
Maybe he found out about the burglary.
So he kind of shakes his head yes, and he begins to work his way down. And Andre and Bob, you both notice that a shirtless Ignacio is coming down the stairs, and got like a baseball bat in his hand. See if it's really you. And I'm sure you probably got a what the fuck look on your face. And Ig's like, hey man, what's going on?
Holy shit, Mafia man. What's going on?
And then
I was just checking on Persephone and Iris because I just spoke to the Nosferatu about where the Thin Bloods are at. And after the shit that's happened recently, if we want to be in any kind of good graces with the Camarilla, we're going to need to figure this out.
man, we got bigger problems than that.
Excuse me?
Man, the SI showed up here tonight. Hold on, let me go get him. Just stay right there, okay? And Ig runs up and goes and gets the two of them. And you hear him from upstairs say, "Yeah, it's Andre, and I don't think there's anybody else with. It's just him." So what are you doing?
We go downstairs.
Yeah, I'm relieved that it's just Andre.
I'm kind of waiting to see what's going on because this whole thing has just been weird as shit.
So, what's going on while I'm not here?
We got robbed. I mean,
You got, I'm sorry, you got robbed?
no. That was the cover story. We actually exorcised a little kid demon who wanted to have Ig's body.
I'm sorry. What's up with you and little kid spirits?
That was one time before this.
Ah, okay. It's already becoming a pattern.
But look, we had a fight with this killer guy ghost, and there were knives and shit being thrown at us.
What?
We decided to call the police because...
We did not call the police. Somebody else called the police.
Oh, right.
So, Bob, you know from your investigation and, the tapping you've done in the neighborhood that the police call came from the Hurricanes to Go stand across from Iris's bookshop. The owner was worried about her safety and called when he heard all the commotion and screaming.
So we said we were robbed, and then the guy for the TV showed up, Carter, the police chief, and he's probably SI. I hid, man. I don't know what he said.
Okay, let's just slow it down. So these SI, I'm new here. What
Second Inquisition, the bad guys, the ones that will set us on fire.
Okay. So these guys are watching us right now.
Yes, because earlier I got a brochure and it was warning about gas leaks, and there were people sniffing around, and there's this ghost tour lady who came into my shop. Man, they're watching us. Something ain't right.
Probably sent by the Camarilla.
You think the ghost tour lady is an SI?
She could be. I don't know. I'd be more likely to trust her than a cop, so maybe she just wanted to get on my good side. She could have been like a scout.
Okay, look. We're not... Look, I don't know much about these SI, but I know if we do anything drastic, cause attention, we're going to be getting them snooping around more. So maybe we just need to relax.
Well, what about the Thin Bloods? We gotta take care of them. How are we gonna do that while we're laying low?
Going to relax.
We're going to take them out.
Did the head of the Second Inquisition show up to your haven, Mr. Descartes?
I mean, I guess he kind of walked into a building that I own.
Did he walk into your residence, where you sleep? Would you relax?
What are they going to do? I just need to know.
Set us on fire and make us eat sheep blood.
What?
Sheep blood!
Sheep blood?
That sounds oddly specific, my dear.
I'm telling you, they're going to put you in a little cell after they light you on fire. Then they're going to have tubes of sheep blood going to you and do experiments on you.
Like that child of Metatron's.
What the fucking about? Okay, so have you spoken to anyone else about this? Am I the only one who knows?
No.
Rosalind was here. Nah, she wasn't here with the SI, but she was here to help with the little ghost child.
Okay, again with the ghosts. See, pattern.
Hecata deal in spirits, Mr. Descartes.
Fine. Does anyone else know?
We called Tony C about the wards.
Antonio Calabashari. And so the Camarilla now knows the SI is looking.
Oh shit, I told the prince. When I got my brochure about the gas leaks, I did call the prince to warn her.
And then hearing that the prince is now involved. Andre is playing off a very shaken look. And he pauses and just, oh, okay. You know what? Maybe we need to disassociate from this building for a little bit.
Tony C did offer us a place to stay. It's not like it's very far away, but
Maybe that's a good idea.
I'm not staying there.
Well, where are you going to stay then?
Where I stay.
I'm going to Tony C's. So the shop may need to be closed after dark. No, I gotta show up. If I don't show up, it's gonna be weirder. Fuck. Okay, they're gonna be watching where I live. Oh no, why would I be at Tony C's if they're gonna be watching me? Am I gonna have to fuck Tony C?
What?
Sorry.
Do you
If
want to
they
read that?
think-
Yeah,
Yeah,
read
yeah,
that
yeah.
last line again.
Read the whole thing again.
Okay. I'm going to Tony C's, so the shop may need to be closed after dark. No, I gotta show up. If I don't show up, it's gonna be weirder. Fuck. Okay. They're gonna be watching where I live. Oh no, why would I be at Tony C's if they're gonna be watching me? Am I gonna have to fuck Tony C?
What?
If they think we have a relationship, it makes sense for me to sleep over. That's why they think I snuck over here.
No one's gonna think you're fucking anybody. But I know one thing we do have to worry about is clearing out the thin bloods.
But how are we gonna do that while also avoiding the detection of the SI?
I don't know. What did you do to even get them to show up in the first place?
I'm sure someone in your Camarilla tipped them off.
Someone in the Camarilla. Who?
Any of them.
Why would they sick the SI on us?
Vicenta just kind of gestures about herself, like,
Well, why would they stick them on me? They could have left me out of this.
I agree, they could have left you out of this. Maybe it was because you were Erasmus's child. Maybe they were not even after you to begin with. You did tell me that they asked you specifically about the funeral home.
Is there a marker board around here?
If you would like to dig it out. And she gestures back towards the mortuary area.
So I'm gonna go back there and start digging through all of that and trying to find a marker board.
And you do, eventually. So you're just going to bring it to you at the front.
Yes. So I'm
Okay.
just gonna take it up to the front. I'm like, okay, pay attention. So we have an SI issue. You said something about the SI in Ella Messina's journals, right?
Ella Messina's journals say that the Camarilla do not control the New Orleans Police Department like they think they do. Mr. Carter is also one of the hunters who went after my sire. No doubt when he received the tip, he connected the name.
And the name of this task force is called
And you're going to start spelling it out.
the New Orleans Special Task Force Emergency Response and Tactical Unit. And as he writes it out, he writes it one word down to where
Like an acronym.
and then I would circle the first letters and they would read Nosferatu with an extra T in there. The Camarilla doesn't control the police like they think they do. Well, I wonder if it's because, and he points at Nosferatu, they do.
That says Nosferatu. That's not how you spell that.
Oh, fuck the T. Just think about it.
You think they would name it that? No. It's a tactic to put fear in our hearts. It's a wink and a nod to, we're the SI and we know what you do.
Seems a bit on the nose.
Exactly, it's a dog whistle.
What I'm trying to say is that I'm glad at least you were honest about what's happened.
And he snaps his fingers. And when he does, all of a sudden, a Nosferatu that you have never seen before appears in front of you.
I told you they were a bit squirrely, but I'm sure you already knew that.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this, Andre? You're a snitch? You're a narc?
No! I'm here to present you with a little bit of good news. We can take out the Thin Bloods without any fear from the SI.
Iris just keeps looking back at the board, and back at Andre again, and back at the board, and back at Andre, and then at Bob with a confused look on her face. It doesn't add up.
And so I walk over and just cross out the T and kind of stare at her the whole time while I do it and underline the F.
I told you, well, at least I told Ig, that I had a meeting with the Nosferatu. Literally when I walked in the door.
He did.
Then who the fuck is this?
Robert Stokely. Good to meet you, Iris.
What the fuck, man? What the fuck?
I had a conversation with Avery, and I heard about the police coming to this place.
How, they listen to police scanners or something? Oh man, these cops, man. So, you're saying these cops are owned by the Nosferatu?
That's what it seems to me.
Owned, and Bob does do the air quotes, is a strong word. We have context.
So, have they been working with you guys since El Messina wrote that? Is that what she meant?
You just kind of stay quiet on
Stay
that.
absolutely quiet.
Okay.
Vicinta kind of tries to read his face, but he's too stoic. She can't get a read on him.
Yeah, and we did do a roll off at this point for that and couldn't determine anything.
The SI are not going to be a problem. The Thin Bloods are a problem. I'm telling you this in confidence because you told me the truth.
You were testing us? Why would we lie to you?
Because a lot of crazy shit happens when I'm not here, apparently. What happened after the bomb went off? Where were you? Oh, yeah, that's right. Out in the woods.
Yeah, and it was fine.
We had a crazy asshole
Hey.
blow up a building.
We didn't know about that. We had nothing to do with that. We did not know he was going to do that.
Look, I'm not placing blame on either of you, but we've had a lot of crazy shit happen. You could agree. I'm just appreciative that I have people in my coterie that wouldn't actually be truthful to me, because right now I don't know who's lying to me and who's not.
Iris nods. That makes a lot of sense to her, and that kind of calms her down.
But secretly, a small part of me did like seeing you squirm.
You fucker.
So for now, you can safely run your business. You can stay here.
I asked Bob, so the SI isn't going to set me on fire?
I hope not.
They shouldn't have a reason to.
If they find you, it's reason enough.
I have reason to believe that if they show up, if you just act cool, they'll go on about their business.
But if you draw too much attention,
Which is something we have a little bit of a bad habit of. That being said, we have a thin blood issue. There's no attention to be drawn there. I'm coming to you guys because, 1, I trust you as my coterie. 2, I may need some help here. And it might also behoove you to help me.
And at this point, you hear a car pulling up outside.
Vicinta looks at Bob and you might want to take cover again.
Oh, fucking hell.
She called her brother.
So at that, Quentin knocks and then he comes inside. You see an older man. He's in his 60s. It's kind of a bit of a contrast to Vicinta, who appears to be in her 20s.
and I have hidden at this point.
Yes.
Quentin, our landlord, Mr. Descartes. After the break-in, I thought it wise to inform him.
Hello, Quentin. And you are...
I attend to the business during the day. I'm, and he points to Vicinta, her brother. It's nice to meet you.
nice to meet you as well.
Quentin, go ahead and wait in the living room upstairs, please.
You'll have to forgive me. I haven't made any calls yet. It's so early, but I can.
It's all right. It's all right. Perfectly fine. Just go upstairs, make those calls, and we'll get this all cleaned up.
He kind of says it to you quietly. And how much does everyone else need to know?
Next to nothing. We had a break-in. We have controlled chemicals, and the area hasn't been completely gentrified. Happens all the time.
Okay. So Quentin goes upstairs to make the phone calls, and he goes to your living room upstairs to do that. You all listen, I'm sure, for the door to close before you say anything else.
You were saying, Mr. Descartes.
He kind of just looks up at Quentin and back down and it's like, he runs this during the day?
Did you think it remains unopened?
Well, personally, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with this place. I know about the bookstore because I'm micromanaging that, but I just kind of let you do your thing. I don't really know what to do with a funeral home in this district.
People don't tend to like to come to funerals in the middle of the evening, you see.
Yeah, I guess all of the dead body stuff around here made me feel more like you were just, I don't know, performing autopsies or something.
Well, we prepare them for the viewing and the burial, but there's a whole crew here doing the mourning, Mr. Descartes, who runs the funerals and the business, and she kind of gestures towards this large room. It's behind two double-closed doors, and above it, it has a placard that says chapel.
Yeah, I always thought this was a little bit more just a haunted house.
Oh, it's that too.
Okay. So, all right. So he runs the place, and he's your brother.
Yes, he's the funeral director and my brother.
Is he your brother, or brother? Is it? He's just like under the impression that he's your brother. Is this like another Ig situation, or what?
Vicente just smiles at Andre, and you can tell she has zero intention of answering your question.
Fair enough. Okay. Back to the matter at hand. Thin Bloods. Are you in or out?
We will, of course, assist Mr. Descartes.
I'm in. If this makes the council like us more, then we have to do it.
I believe it would be beneficial to all of us. With that in mind, Avery and his associate Robert have found out where they are, and we can dispose of them. I have my own ideas of how to dispose of them, but I mean, do you guys have any ideas? And to keep things democratic here, I mean, they're in a power station in the Venetian Isles district. They leave during the day and they return at night. We have no idea. I know that the lactose chick.
Lapis.
Right.
We could blow it up.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought you would say. I could try to sneak in to scout. So could Robert, apparently. I could dominate.
I can request otherworldly assistance. They may be seen, but there is probably very little that can be done to them.
Andre looks in the general direction of where Bob is still actually in the shadows. Yeah, they know a little ghost girl.
I know a great many ghosts.
Yes, and one of them is a little ghost girl. Maybe we can get some reconnaissance and see how many there are.
I think it's all going to hinge on that. We got to know what we're dealing with.
Mr. Kalbashari did warn us that our little thin blood friends did take up a certain path of the sun. This will no doubt complicate matters.
Well, I won't get set on fire by SI, but I will by Thin Bloods. Awesome.
So in the shadows, we had Jeff make a roll, and Bob remembered that you had heard about Sabat pushing Thin Blood shovel heads towards this path so that they could be used as a shock troop. You even knew of a couple of kindred who met their final death this way in the 80s. You're not sure exactly how it works, but you know that the Thin Blood skin itself seems to crackle and burn whenever they do this.
Very dangerous. They can even take on the powers of the sun.
So no punching then. At least not a lot. I hate being new to this. Could we poison them? I mean, how would that even work on a Thin Blood?
We don't breathe, Mr. Descartes. I doubt they do either.
Well, they also walk in the sun, and we can't fucking do that now, can we? I don't know what the rules are here.
We could bar up the door, trap them inside.
Set it on fire.
I don't think we want to be around that. We'll eventually have to go in and make sure they're dead.
I just want to make sure we don't get overwhelmed. I just don't want them coming up and, poking me in the back while I'm punching his friend.
Everyone can be useful. Some of us can dominate them, keep them still while another deals with them. we do this, we should do this thing together. Going off alone and Ramboing it will get you killed.
And Vicenta leans over to Ig and goes, "What's Rambo?"
He whispers back, "It's a movie by that guy that was in Rocky. You like that one because he was Italian, remember?"
Ah, yes, thank you.
Well, when we find out more about what's actually going on here, how many there are, what the layout is, so we'll have a better idea of what to do.
We could talk to that guy that Erasmus mentioned that gave him the guns. Or we can just wait till we're done scouting, otherwise we're just spinning our wheels.
At this point, we had Dee roll to see if she could remember a ceremony from a long time ago that she witnessed Ella Messina studying, performing. Could be effective in this situation, but it is pretty masquerade preaching and could also mess her up in other ways. And in the meantime, Jeff, what were you going to do?
I was going to step into the chapel or somewhere more private to make a phone call to Shakidra.
And I scream at the door opening on its own as Bob is in the shadows, and I go, "It's haunted!"
Yes, my dear.
All right, so you give her a call, and she kind of sleepily answers the phone. Hello.
Sorry to bother you.
Oh, it's okay. What's up?
I know you've been watching that power plant with our friends. How many do you think are in there?
Hold on. I counted 6. No. That's how many I see moving regularly, and I don't know. That's how many I've seen coming in and out, but that's during the daytime. They move early in the morning. It's kind of like they don't want to stay in one spot. They're doing something in there. I mean, the one time I stayed up to make sure they were going in there at night, other people came. There's people that go in there too, but they don't always come out,
This definitely complicates things.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're, just one second, we'll pause it. All right. Yeah, I don't know, boss. If you plan on moving against these folks, it's a power plant and should have people there during the day. They're there, but they don't act right. Something's not right about them. I don't know any other way to put it. I just know that if I had tried to get any closer, I think it would have been bad.
Even during the day?
Yeah, there's eyes, it feels like. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So I go out the door, and I guess by this time I have to unstealth or whatever. And I explain basically everything that we just talked about there being so many people and all that stuff. Well, I'm much more concerned, but I thought maybe myself and Mr. Dugard go in there and handle it. But hearing this, I'm much more concerned.
What if we get the cops to go in and raid it? Unless they miss one, and then we have to do this all over again.
Mr. Dugard needs to handle this.
And I'm not sending any of those cops on that power plant, because if anything happens to those cops, there goes any power that the Camarilla have over the place. There goes our safety net.
So, yeah.
I want to make a phone call.
Okay. So you try to do so, and you start to try to call, and you just hear, and it just kind of dies before it even goes.
Vicenta holds your phone and holds it back. Probably even dials the number for you.
Yeah, I tell her to call Winston.
Okay. So she does, and the phone rings, and you hear a click.
Winston, I need a favor from you.
Hello?
Winston!
Vicenta kind of takes another step back to try to get the reception to clear up.
Yes. Hey, man. Yeah. Hey.
I need you to look up some information for me, please. I need you to look up information about New Orleans Central Power.
Oh, okay.
Our Thin Blood situation has taken a very dire turn, as I believe that the whole power plant may be run by Thin Bloods. That's my assumption anyway, but it could be anything. I need to know more about this power plant. I want to know how much of this city is being powered by this plant, and I just really need to know anything that you can find on the plant. Could you just give me just some any information, and I'll just take it from there.
Yeah, okay, I can look into it.
Thank you. You can hang up the phone.
Beep. She tries. She's probably hitting several buttons until she hits the right
You
one.
finally did.
Yeah.
Well, that's where our ghost girl comes in. I'd say we can give her a full day to sit in there and find out what's going on.
Sounds good to me.
So, how well can this ghost observe what's going on? It's a pretty big place.
You're assuming we can only send in one.
We can send in multiple? I mean, let's just do that then and get the full scope of what's really going on.
I would be happy to assist in such a matter. However, I will need to make a trip to Lafayette.
Wait, Lafayette?
Cemetery. Not this evening, of course.
Bob gives her the side eye.
And Andre starts to think a little more. He says, as much as I want to go badass and rip a bunch of heads off, this isn't going to be the way. I have to figure out a more bureaucratic way to get in. Think about what connections we have. But for now, if we walk in there looking for a fight, the only thing we're going to end up doing is walking in there and fight.
So it seems that there are sources of information in the works and a at least preliminary plan to recruit scouts or people to find out what's going on is in play. And more plans will be discussed, I'm sure, the next time we meet. That will be the end of chapter 12 for now. We will be back very soon with the continuation of our story. But for now, this is GM Tuck wishing you all a good night. Have a great one, everyone.